Hey everyone, it's your boy Pee Wee back with another video. Uh, Today we're going to be talking about a manhwa that really I didn't really know how I would feel about going into it. When it comes to romance comics, I'm not usually the biggest fan. Um, whether it be a love triangle, whether it be a really slow burn, or just like misunderstanding after misunderstanding. Like usually when I read a romance manhwa, it's like it feels like everything in the story is just meant to keep them from being together. And it's like the whole point of this is supposed to be a romance between these two people. Yeah, it's like they never want to confess to each other. They never want to actually communicate and resolve any misunderstandings. Or, if there's the female lead is like being chased after by like five different dudes and she's like has feelings for all of them. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like I never when it comes to romances, I always like half step into them, right? However, the age of arrogance, right? This one was surprisingly well. Like it was really really good. Um, Basic overview is the main character is the female lead, and well, I guess they're both main characters, but the main character is the female lead, right? And her background is that her father was sent to like the outskirts of the empire basically to die by the emperor, but he didn't. He and his wife ended up having children and like creating a territory and whatnot. And the comic starts with her being the like owner of the territory. And like the reason why her family got sent to the outskirts was to fight a war, basically, but it was literally just to die. But however, she comes out victorious in the war after about 28 years, and she goes to seek a reward from the emperor. And essentially, her reward that he gives her is a choice of who she's gonna marry. And so she chooses the male lead back here, and he is technically the crown prince, but temporarily he was stripped of his position due to some issues. And basically the empress wanted her son to be the emperor, like the next emperor, and not him, since the current empress is not his mother. And so going into this, I was hesitant. Like as I said, I'm not really a huge fan of romance. I fell in love with the female lead. She's just extremely adorable. Um, she from being basically living in a backwater territory, just on the outskirts in the middle of like nowhere, essentially. She's a little awkward, but I feel like that adds to her charm. Like she's unbothered when it comes to pretty much anything other than like the safety of her people and her territory. So at first, when like the feelings start getting developed, the male lead ends up starting to fall first. um and like at first, like she just isn't aware of it at all. Like she's just no second thoughts. Then eventually it started to head in a direction where I thought I wasn't going to like it, right? Because then she starts developing feelings, but then she starts, with the whole low self-esteem of being from a backwater territory, low ranking in society, and falling in love with the crown prince, next future emperor. She starts to doubt whether she has any right to fall in love with the prince and get married and whatnot. So, but I thought it was gonna head on down in a direction of like misunderstandings and just basically driving a wedge between them, which in at some parts it did. Like for the longest time, they just wouldn't confess to each other, and like there were like it was just like the crown prince would bring like people that he needed as allies who were female to her territory, and she just assumed that he was sleeping with them, but like never asked, never really cared. Essentially, like she's just like, oh, he's rumored sleep around, so he's probably just sleeping around. There's nothing I can do about it, right? And but towards the end of it, when they actually when stuff starts happening, she I don't want to spoil too much, but like she almost dies. Obviously, she doesn't die. She's the main character, right? And I know it's an ignorant statement because like there are main characters that die in stories. I know, but this is just I'm just gonna say it right now. It's a happy ending, right? Like the male lead's a green flag. I think she's adorable. They actually like officially get married. Like yes, they're officially married, but like for about 5 or 6 chapters towards the end, there's this whole debate of whether or not they're gonna get a divorce or not because they're essentially they had a plan to be married for 3 years and then divorce. So, but they end up staying married. They end up having a kid. You know, and essentially, it's a happy ending, good romance. I did feel that they took a little too long for the confessions, but obviously that's just me. I'm just not a huge fan of like really slow burns, and I'm just glad that it didn't get dragged out as much as I thought it would. But overall, the art I'd say is probably about a 7 or 8. Basically what you see in this picture is pretty much what you get. Like it's a little simplistic. It's not like the ultra HD, art, but it's a good art. I like it. The fight scenes are like meh, like it's a romance. It's not really focused around the action too much, but there is a really cool scene in there when they're like fighting on the battlefield together, and it like gets painted by like another side character, like paints them on the battlefield, right next to each other, blood covered on them. So like there are some cool action scenes. The characters, as I said, I love the female lead. The male lead was pretty good. Um, I feel like if he didn't try to act arrogant, like I know, like Age of Arrogance, but like he really is as arrogant as one can be. So it's like I wish he would have put his pride away sooner. Obviously, he ends up doing so to like confess to her. But I feel like if he just wouldn't have let his pride get in the way for so long, then they could have just, you know, resolved everything sooner. So, but overall, I think he was a pretty good character. A lot of the side characters, the world building and all that aspect, they all kind of like intertwine together. So I'd say it was pretty good. Like it was done pretty well with just the world building and like increasing like her likability towards everybody and essentially the crown prince ensuring his spot as the emperor. So the story building is really well. The story pacing is pretty good. It's not slow. It's not fast. Overall, it's pretty good. Um, let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, would I recommend it? I definitely would. For a romance manhwa that I really, romance really isn't my thing, but I really did enjoy this one. So I think everyone else will too. That'll do it for this one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.